Welcome back to Library Nerds with Words, the podcast that gives you the latest word on all the cool things happening at Peter White Public Library and the library universe beyond from the people who know it best, library nerds. I'm Marty Achatz, Adult Programming Coordinator for Peter White Public Library, and joining me today are everyone's two favorite movie nerd fellas, Amanda Pierce from the Teen Zone and Ben Sargent from Tech Services. Welcome back to the podcast, guys.
It's good to be back.
Yep.
All right. And no scary cheeses. So
No,
that's good.
There is no cheese in this room right now. It's the first time ever.
And
Well,
Ben
it's
is looking
because-
very happy.
It's because Marty and I did the scary cheese one last week because we were supposed to record this last week.
Yes, that was my fault. I was sick.
And I will tell you that one of those scary cheeses, I came back to my office like a half hour later and I
Was
could
this-
still smell it.
Oh, God.
So
Steph
anyway,
tried it
I don't care. This is terrible.
and walked in and she's like, "Woo!"
so anyway,
Is it the one you texted me a picture of one?
Yeah,
it was that one. It was very fragrant.
My husband was like, "Oh." I'm like, "But try it." And he tried it and he's like, "No, it's really good, but it's really smelly."
It wasn't.
really is.
It wasn't good.
You would have tasted it for hours.
I would never
No,
put
he
that in
wouldn't
my
have
mouth.
touched it. We know this. We had this conversation.
I knew it just from the picture
Oh,
that this
gosh.
was sus.
Anyway, I'm always excited to be able to talk movies and cheeses with you guys. And we are at the height of movie awards season. The Oscars are this weekend. And I'm going to be interested to see if Emma Stone can beat out Lily Gladstone for Best Actress or Cillian Murphy can come on top of Paul Giamatti for Best Actor. You might say we are all going to be keeping Scorsese this weekend.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, there you go.
Very nice.
That's a little clue. It's not very subtle. But before we turn into Raging Bulls, another clue. We have to do one other thing. We have to play another round of Word on the Nerd, the game where I find out a little bit more about my guest nerds. And you both know how this goes. I'm going to ask you 3 library nerd questions about yourself, and you have to answer them for the listeners. So Amanda and Ben, are you ready to play?
Word on the Nerd.
This is going to be a little game of Would You Rather, as always. I'm going to ask you 3 Would You Rather questions, and you have to truthfully answer them for the listeners. And all of the questions today have to do with gangsters and gangster movies.
Ooh, okay.
All right, so here's your first question. Would you rather eat cannolis with Vito Corleone or have a few gin and tonics with Al Capone?
Oh, I would... The cannolis.
Yeah, cannolis, hands down. Because you know they're going to be
They are
fan-flippin'-tastic.
going to be fantastic. Although I'm really tempted by gin and tonics because gin's my jam.
Yeah, but Al Capone was like...
He wasn't as interesting, I don't think.
He was more of a psychopath.
Well,
he first off, he was real, and Vito Corleone is
well,
not.
right, yeah. Okay,
So,
I mean, they're both crazy and like...
But we never see... Well, okay, like, when you say Vito, like, I'm thinking of Marlon Brando.
right, and that's who I'm thinking
But
of,
then
too.
I was like, you could do the De Niro
version, and
too.
you do see him killed.
I was
some
just going to
people.
say, because when we first meet Vito, he is like old man,
Yeah.
He's got orange slices in his face. But I'd say the cannolis.
Cannolis.
I would go with cannolis, too. I love cannolis.
Because you know they're going to be like fresh made.
Yeah, and nobody's going to give Vito any bad cannolis. That's
No,
for
those
sure.
cannolis going to be top notch.
That gin and tonic that with Capone.
Yeah, is that like Prohibition gin? That'll kill
Yeah,
you.
bathtub
You'll
gin
go
and
blind.
tonic.
Yeah, you're not... No, I'd rather live.
The good stuff from across from Canada.
He probably wasn't drinking the bad stuff.
No.
All right, so you know the questions are going to get a little harder. So here's your second question.
I don't like the look you
No,
just
this
gave
is
me
a fun
just
one.
Would you rather see a musical version of The Godfather starring John Travolta with songs written by Mariah Carey? Or
What?
watch a musical version of Bonnie and Clyde starring Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy with songs by Chance the Rapper?
I'm going with the second one. I want Kermit and Piggy and Chance the Rapper.
What is... Who comes up with this? You just think these
I
things
just
up?
think these things
But
up.
come
This
on,
is the way my mind
Bonnie
works.
Oh,
and
God, that
Clyde.
explains a lot.
Bonnie and Clyde with Kermit and Piggy with songs by Chance the Rapper. That's my pick.
Yeah, I
Hands
think
down.
that would be more entertaining. Why I would like to get the Mariah Carey ones.
Yeah.
And you did this on purpose. Because I do not like John Travolta.
Yeah, I know, but I paired John with Mariah.
I would honestly, just out of curiosity, I would watch both. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But I think, Kermit, I'm Kermit the Frog rapping Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes.
Kermit
like that
and Piggy.
just there, that image in my head. I'm just like, I want this.
Kermit and Piggy would be a great Bonnie and Clyde.
I think
that
would
should be a
fantastic.
Muppet movie.
It really should be, right down to the point where they get gunned down in the car at the
that-
end of
yes.
the movie.
Have you
Gun
ever
'em
seen
down,
the
though.
movie with Warren Beatty and Faye
so
Dunaway?
good.
No. And now
And
you're gonna
Gene
make me
Hackman's
watch
in it.
it.
Hackman, I think that was his first Oscar
Yeah.
nomination.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really great movie, and yeah, they just get gunned down
They
like
I've
unnecessarily.
seen the scene.
Yeah. Well, that's how it was in real life. They just shot them way more than necessary.
it was sort of like when you see pictures of it, it's sort of like looking at a live Sonny Corleone. Like,
Oh, God,
coughing.
yeah.
You know, it's just awful. All right, so we're going with Chance the Rapper and Kermit and Miss Piggy.
Yes.
Okay, I will agree with you. That was the one that interested me the most. Okay, so here's your last question. Would you rather have a movie of your life directed by
No.
Francis Ford Coppola, or a movie of your life directed by Martin Scorsese?
Wow.
I know.
That is interesting. let me think. I want to give a real answer.
Okay.
I think I'd go Scorsese.
Yes.
That would be my pick.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, Scorsese. And spoiler alert now, the podcast about Scorsese.
It is
movies.
about Scorsese. Yeah.
Now, Scorsese, what he does best, and this is a great question because it really leads us into like what we're here to talk about. He makes films about bad people. Mm-hmm. Okay, bad people doing bad things.
Yep.
All right. I'm not a bad person. I don't do bad things. So would that be interesting? I do wonder if maybe Coppola would make a better movie about someone who's not like evil. You know what I mean? Like more of a
Yes.
character piece, like more of a character study.
Although, didn't Scorsese just direct a movie about missionaries in? I can't remember the name of the movie. It was just out a couple years ago.
Oh, it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
I didn't. I haven't either.
I think it got lost in the pandemic. But all of this, every movie we're going to talk about today is like
Terrible white men
Terrible.
doing terrible white.
Oh, bleep! There's the first one. There's the first one.
I warned you.
I think we need a cowbell. this
yeah,
time.
it was true. So
I didn't say the F word.
No, not
not
yet.
yet.
Not yet.
Yes, and they're always like terrible white people doing things, and like most of the time it's Robert De Niro. I think like the Scorsese movie would be more entertaining, so I guess I'll go, especially the spirit of the podcast. I will say Scorsese, although there's a chance that I don't know what that movie would look like.
I see. Now, I would go, if I was given a choice, I would go with a young Francis Ford Coppola directing my movie.
Okay, yeah,
Then-
like when he
then
was
the
like
older.
you watch The Offer,
Yeah,
and you
that
see
kind
like
of
that
thing.
that Coppola,
That kind of
yeah,
Coppola.
like the
I would take
visionary,
him.
yeah. Not
Because-
Apocalypse Now Coppola.
Not
No,
the Apocalypse
not
Now
that
Coppola.
movies.
And not the Godfather 3 Coppola. I'm talking like
Yeah.
prime Coppola. But if I have to take like a current version, I'm going to go with Scorsese.
Yeah.
So, what
That
do you
was a
say?
good
I
question.
said Scorsese.
You're
Yeah.
Scorsese. Okay, there you
I've
go.
got enough. I've had enough bad stuff happen in my life, and I'm sure it would be entertaining.
All right.
We
Well,
have a great soundtrack.
Oh, my soundtrack would be all over the place.
and you know, Leonardo DiCaprio playing me would be perfect. So,
Well, I always say if I'm ever Gosling's gonna play me.
oh, Gosling's gonna play. What about you? Who
I don't
would play
know.
you?
Oh, who would play Manda?
don't-
Who would we cast, Marty?
Emma Stone.
Eh.
Yeah, you think so?
I think Emma Stone could pull it off.
She could definitely do it. What about Jennifer Lawrence?
Ooh, Jennifer Lawrence would be good too.
Yeah, no, that's my pick. J-Law. That would be great.
All right.
No, because you saw Silver Linings Playbook.
Yes, I did.
She can do good crazy person.
She does do good crazy. So
That works.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is the end of our special gangster edition of Word on the Nerd with Ben from Tech Services and Amanda from the Teen Zone here at Peter White Public Library. And now the time has come to talk movies. In particular, if you haven't guessed it already, we are focusing our attention on films directed by one person, Martin Scorsese. So why don't we get into the Word? All right, guys, where are we going to start?
I say
We should do in chronological.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start with Taxi Driver first, then.
Yes, Taxi Driver,
Which was Amanda's favorite out of this whole...
she loves Taxi Driver.
She does. Because, Robert De Niro's a hero in that movie.
Oh God. It's interesting because
She's looking at... You should see her face.
Daggers, Marty.
Okay, so obviously Amanda did not like Taxi Driver.
Premise, I've only seen the one Scorsese film that out of all of them.
Previous to this.
Right.
Which was Departed, right?
The Departed,
The
yes.
Departed, which, we will talk about The Departed in a little bit.
Okay, but I think if you were doing a whole, and so we ended up watching only 5. Amanda did not watch Raging Bull.
Amanda fell asleep last night.
Amanda fell asleep last night, although Raging Bull, great movie.
Movie. But we tried to get a variety. I think the definitive movie from early Scorsese is Taxi Driver.
Yep.
And then
Crazy white person getting away with murder.
he's just crazy. So Travis Bickle, obviously, he's just crazy.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you talking to me?
I mean, the scenes when he's getting all the guns and he's putting them on his body to throw it out the thing. I'm just how many guns does one person
Yeah, but he
need?
never really assassinates the political candidate.
No,
that never
He goes after the bad guys.
But
So okay,
still, they're bad. But still, you don't just point blank murder people and then get a thank you letter from the girl's mother. Thanks.
How else is he going to save Jodie Foster from those people?
How old was she in this
13.
movie?
She was 13.
Yeah, no, that also really bothered me.
Oh, dude, this
100%.
This is total. This is not. This is 70s gutter New York
oh my
skeezy.
God, my first watching this movie, my arm hair was raised the entire time. I'm nope.
That's the point.
Nope,
Yeah.
That is the point.
And your wife said the same thing. I thought.
She said I hate this movie.
I hated watching it. I felt so uncomfortable.
You're supposed to.
I
That's why
get that,
he
but
made
I'm
it.
I'm a woman already. I already feel uncomfortable half the time.
I can understand that, but it's obviously AFI top 100 movies of all time. It's a great movie. It's definitely, I do think it's a movie that you appreciate more if you watch it again.
Yes.
I don't. Nope, I will not be watching.
Well, then that's fine. But I remember the first time I saw it, and I think I was in high school, and I was just I don't know what is this movie about, right? Robert De Niro is. He's got he looks whack, and but should we?
He's got a heart of gold, though.
He thinks he is.
He thinks he's a good guy.
So for the people listening, should we just go over?
Let's
Go over the plot real quick.
So Marty, just
give
give us a brief summary.
Okay, so Robert De Niro, Travis Bickle.
He plays Travis Bickle.
He plays Travis Bickle, and he's a taxi driver in New York City, and he's a little whack.
He's not right in the head.
No, he's not.
Not
and
at
he's
all.
in love, and he's in love, or at least infatuated with this woman played by Sybil Shepherd, who's working on a presidential campaign for a senator. And I think Albert Brooks, a very young Albert Brooks, is in it as well.
He's great in it.
He is great. Everybody's great in this movie.
He's supposed to be a Reagan character.
Pretty much, yeah.
He's a New York. He's a New York senator. I get the feeling that this is 1976.
Yeah.
That's when the movie came out. But and so he first sees her and then is just whoa, because it was young Sybil Shepherd. So looking like a zillion bucks.
and he as a taxi driver sees the underbelly of.
He really lives in that. That's kind of what the movie is about.
Right.
And it's just it's asking these questions is he crazy? Is this is his setting making him crazy, or is it both? I think he's crazy, and the world that he's in is making him crazier.
Right.
I
mean, he does eventually get a date with Sybil Shepherd.
He takes her to
He takes her to an adult film theater.
I was what kind of theater?
an adult entertainment theater.
Yes,
yeah.
and she actually she's sitting there for a little while and gets up and leaves and doesn't want to have anything to do with it anymore.
When she's "Are you serious?"
And then, as another time, he's driving his taxi, and Jodie Foster, who plays a 12 or 13-year-old prostitute, jumps into his cab and says, "Please go, 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 go."
And then he doesn't.
And he doesn't, and her pimp comes and takes her away and everything.
Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel, who's fantastic.
Yep.
And so De Niro goes a little over the edge.
See, he's got like a hero fetish where he wants to be the hero of the story. So like he's just a crazy guy. But
So uncomfortable.
you know, the movie, it's a great film. I think like
By the way, Robert De Niro does save Jodie Foster from her
After
situation.
killing 2 other people.
Well, yeah, but they were terrible people.
They were all terrible people.
yeah, I mean, Sybil Shepherd
He
wasn't.
point blank and shot the other guy too in the store.
It's
Well-
really, it's not, well, like, it was not good. Like, but like
none of
he's,
it was
but the point is, like, he's driving around New York all day and night, and he's, you know, he's crazy. So he's trying to like look for stories where he can then come and be the hero.
Right.
That's funny.
And he ends up
Terrible.
being a hero at the end of the movie.
Oh, it's just so, it's really good. One other thing I'd like to point out is the like the score for this movie is one of the best, most perfect scores for a movie ever. Just like the saxophone when they're
Yeah.
like driving at night.
Yep.
It's amazing. Yeah, and Robert De Niro, this was
Did he get an Oscar nomination for this? He did. I thought so.
Yeah, well, it was his second. Well, because his first nomination he won because he won for Godfather 2 in
Right,
'74,
yeah.
and then this was '76. So Jodie Foster was This was her first nomination.
Yeah, and by the way, Jodie Foster, playing the 13-year-old prostitute, she had to actually go through like psychological testing to make
Yes.
sure that she could play this part.
Oh, and then also Amanda, all
Sure.
the kind of like skeevy parts where like she's scantily clad or whatever. It was her older sister was the body double, so they didn't even want to put her in like those.
Doesn't matter. It's still super like inappropriate.
But they were
and
totally
uncomfortable.
above board
Does it?
with that. So
But like it was just so.
No, but I mean, I'm
uncomfortable.
talking in real like life.
yeah.
That's fine, but like still, it's super uncomfortable.
That's the point. It's
I don't think that you're supposed to feel uncomfortable.
it would be
but, like,
weird
I-
if you're
like-
like, this is fine.
Like to the point of like I almost turned it off. Like I don't want to watch the end of this movie.
No, there's something like sort of like a car crash where you see a bad car
Yeah.
crash and you want to stare at it and see
you
what's
can't
gonna
look
happen,
away.
and you can't look away. That's sort of what this movie is, and you know, it's put Scorsese on the map. It put De Niro, even though De Niro was already on the map, but even bigger on the map.
It really did. This is like really because the other early Scorsese movies, and we thought about this, like Mean Streets was before this. Mean Streets is really good, and then Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Ellen
That-
Burstyn.
Yeah. So those are really good, but this is kind of the definitive early Scorsese, I would say, because I would say once he gets to Raging Bull, that's like a different phase.
Yeah, it just, I mean, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. It's kind of a traditional film. I
It
think
is.
It's very.
Well,
I
he
mean,
was, I believe, like director for hire on that.
Yeah, he was. So I mean, that one is very atypical Scorsese, I would say.
Yeah, but like early in his career, he's trying to find work. He did a really
Right.
good job for it. I haven't seen it for years, but it is really good too. So
But Mean Streets is like right there where
when you
would
watch
expect-
Mean Streets, you can then see like later Scorsese movies that happen. Like
Yeah.
you're like, if you watch like Goodfellas or any of these, you're like, okay, like I see it in Mean Streets. You know,
Yeah. And another thing about watching a bunch of Scorsese films is I was surprised at how often he cast himself in small parts in his movies.
yeah. Even in the most recent one,
Even in the most recent one, he was there. Yeah.
because he's in King of Comedy.
He is in King of Comedy. He's in Killers of the Flower Moon right at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, is he the guy reading?
He
Yep.
was the guy that comes out at the end with the big bushy eyebrows and
When they're doing the
basically
radio
gives-
play,
yeah.
well, we'll get there when we get
okay,
there.
all
All right, so how are we gonna rate these?
Oh,
Ooh, okay,
let's
hold
see.
on. We got to come up with a good one.
1 to 5 De Niro's.
Not De Niro.
Okay, what do we want to do then?
1 to 5. I'm trying to think of something from Goodfellas. 1 to 5.
1 to
Steaks?
5 cannolis.
Well, that's a
That's a
Coppola
Coppola thing.
That's
You
a
can't do
Coppola.
Coppola.
They did steaks and meatballs.
Oh yeah, man! Text me like they got steak in prison.
you
I'm like,
go.
yeah, man.
Okay.
No, let's. I'm gonna get this right. Hold on.
Okay,
This is
we
great
gotta
listening
do
for the
this.
viewers.
Okay.
You can just cut this out and we'll come back.
No. I will
So
absolutely.
okay, so
listen.
what were they eating in the Goodfellas? They were there was steak, there was the meatballs, there was they were talking about the sauce and the veal.
It doesn't have to be food though.
No, but
No.
like that's the easiest thing to do. They can't really do with the
we
drugs.
are really...
There's a lot of drugs in that movie.
no.
You have it?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, let's have it.
We need to rate these between 1 and 5 shine boxes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
Shine box. She was watching Goodfellas yesterday at work, so I don't think she got all of it.
I'm
Billy Batts, the guy that Joe Pesci kills,
Right,
and then
yeah.
they end up right. The reason that we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but the reason why they were fighting is because he used to shine Billy Batts' shoes. Billy Batts says,
that's
"Go
right.
get your shine box."
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, it's a super famous line. Go
Yep,
get your
go
bleeping
get your shine.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, shine boxes. So,
1 is bad, 5 is good.
1 is bad, 5 is good. Taxi Driver, Amanda.
1.
1.
One
I
shine box.
did not like this movie. Did not like it at all.
I'm going to say 4 1/4 shine boxes.
I will say 3.5 shine boxes
Okay.
for Taxi Driver. So, there you go. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So, our next movie would be...
Well, so
Should have been Raging
it should have been
Bull.
Raging Bull.
Right.
Let's just briefly say this is Robert De Niro won his Best Actor Oscar
Right.
for this.
Yep. And Joe Pesci was nominated, did not win yet.
Kathy Moriarty, who plays Vicky, who was
Fantastic.
18. Joe Pesci had seen her poster at like a nightclub and was like, let's try her out. And she met with Scorsese and De Niro, and she was only 18.
That's amazing.
Which is because she carries herself like,
Yeah.
you know, and she had to be De Niro's equal, like Jake LaMotta's equal, and Jake LaMotta was like, you know,
Yeah.
just, but great movie. It's in black and white, so man, I left that one for last on purpose.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't leave that one for last. It was the last one that was streaming.
I kept on because she kept on expressing her criticisms of how Scorsese depicts women and that in the movie, and I was like, wow. I told her the night that she was going to watch it, I said, you're going to hate this movie.
It is on Tubi, and I have it saved to the favorites. It was going to be one of those ones where I was just going to walk on the treadmill and turn it on and watch it. But then illness and everything else last week.
Well, and it's about the life. It's based on the memoir of Jake LaMotta.
Famous middleweight boxer.
Famous middleweight boxer. And he is a typical Scorsese character. I mean, he's
Very.
He's violent. He beats his wife. Has a violent temper. Well, beats a lot of people in the movie. But
Who doesn't get beat?
yeah,
Nobody.
that's it. Exactly.
Beats his brother.
I mean, yeah, he beats the crap out of Joe Pesci at one point. So,
But it was Joe Pesci's first like real breakout role. Just great. So I know Manny didn't watch it, but I'm gonna say 4 shine boxes.
I was gonna say 4 shine boxes for Raging Bull too. It's like vintage Scorsese. I mean, it's just so good.
Yes.
So all right. So Raging Bull, you still have to watch
I will
it.
watch it
You
in
will
all
watch
my
it.
free time.
Amanda likes boxing movies.
I don't mind boxing. I mean, my husband's obsessed with Rocky movies. Like, we've watched all of the Rockies.
Yeah, well,
I haven't
this-
watched
this-
the newest Creed one yet.
Yeah.
but-
This has some good boxing.
Yeah.
Because he had legendary fights with Sugar Ray Robinson, and it's in the movie.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he was a great boxer in his day for sure.
oh yeah, he is.
I mean, he was
in
like
the-
unbeatable.
He's
Sure.
a Hall of Famer. So
I will watch it.
But then,
the Bronx
but then
Bull.
he fell on hard times and ended up like being a co-star on the TV show Alf.
yeah. Here's the thing, Amanda, and
I loved Elf.
when you
He
watch
was the
it,
neighbor in
So-
Alf.
Really?
Yeah, he
Oh.
was the old neighbor.
yeah.
in
So
Alf.
when you watch it, near the end, because it takes place in the basically early 40s, and it goes through till like
Late
the early
60s,
50s.
early
Well, then it
50s.
jumps to like 64
Right,
when he's
yeah.
like doing a comedy. He's like doing stand-up comedy at this point because he's really on hard
And he's
times.
terrible.
He's awful, and he is totally blown up.
Yeah.
He is fat. Robert De Niro gained all that weight. What they did was they filmed all the boxing scenes when he got in super good shape.
Yep.
And then production took months off. He went and what he said is he ate his way through Europe and he gained like I think it was like 40 or 50
pounds,
40
40 or
50
50
pounds like real, And he is so like, you're like, oh my god.
I mean, it's just like you look at it now. They would just do it with CGI or something like that.
Yeah, it's really probably not healthy to even.
But, oh my gosh, he's totally transformed.
But he actually did it. So when you see it, you're like, no, he gained that weight. And like you've never seen Robert De Niro look like that. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
okay, well, I'll watch it.
It's a good film. It's a good film. Like I said, vintage Scorsese has all those things that you would expect from a Scorsese film.
Yeah, when we go through everything, then we'll have to like touch on the Scorsese themes because I think like there's obviously things that he tells certain stories his way, and there are people who like they don't like that, so that like Alyssa. Shout out to Alyssa, who I'm sure will listen to this. We love you and miss you.
Yes. We need to get her in for just a guest spot.
Well, I've always said that, like, when we do, because it was my idea to do Scorsese, because I wanted to do a bunch of movies by one director. And I always told Alyssa, like, when we do Hitchcock, she has to be here. We could not do that without her.
Yep.
She wouldn't. So Alyssa, one day we'll do the Hitchcock episode. You'll be here, and it'll be the best episode by far we've ever done.
And she probably likes good cheeses too, I would imagine.
Oh,
she's a little busy this week. I know that.
Yeah.
It's Say Week.
Okay.
It's Percy Jackson and George.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But Alyssa, if you're listening to this one day. But I bring her up because she's not a big Scorsese fan, like none of them, like that it's not working for her, which is like totally fine because Scorsese makes Scorsese movies, and if you can't like appreciate them for what they are. My mom's the same way. I mean, except Goodfellas. Like everyone likes Goodfellas because it's just so.
And that's the next one.
King of Comedy is next.
But like, so if you
she just rolled her eyes.
If you don't,
again, another crazy white person.
But just to finish this thought, like if that's not your thing, you're there's probably not a Scorsese movie for you.
Yeah, you're not gonna like any Scorsese film. Although The King of Comedy is pretty tame, I think.
Yeah, that wasn't as bad.
Well, because no one dies. But
no one dies. I mean, there's a gun in it or a couple guns in it, but
yeah, they're not real though.
So the next film is The King of Comedy, starring again Robert De Niro and Jerry Lewis. Yeah.
So
was the best part of the movie for me. Oh
god. So I wanted to do this one because when me and Marty were hashing this out, and it's like the thing with this was hard to narrow this to 6 movies because there were so many great ones we left off. So if you listen to this and you're like, why didn't they talk about that? Why didn't they talk?
We can only watch so many movies and work full time.
Maybe we need to do 2.
No, we need to pick something different.
You could do a part 2 because one of my favorite Scorsese movies, I think, is top 5 for him is Wolf of Wall Street, which we couldn't. And then I really love Irishman. I think Irishman's like underrated masterpiece, but we couldn't do that one. So if we didn't talk about your favorite Scorsese movie,
and there's an atypical Scorsese movie. I think The Aviator is very atypical.
It is, and that's probably one of my least favorites.
Yeah, because it's totally
that one. No one really liked it when it came out. I do remember that.
It was very long.
Won an Oscar.
She did win,
but no one liked it. Like they were.
Well, no, I mean people liked it, but I think people were like,
"This is not Scorsese."
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I never heard anything good about it.
It's a fine movie. It's not bad.
It's a typical biopic.
But it's a biopic. So anyways, King of Comedy.
Yes.
We wanted to pick. We want to throw something different. If you're trying to find a comedy, and this is like a dark comedy.
Yeah.
So that's why we picked this. And this is a movie I'd only seen one time, and it had been a long time ago. I really liked this, and Jerry Lewis is so good.
Yeah.
So let's give the setup. So Jerry Lewis, which is like in real life, they called him the King of Comedy. Yep. So this is interesting. I love because Jerry Lewis. This is a dramatic role for him, and this ain't Nutty Professor.
Yeah, he's playing against type,
which I really liked. I
thought he did a good job.
He was awesome.
He's fantastic.
He's basically playing Johnny Carson.
Yep.
He's got a late night show, and it's basically the Tonight Show.
And it's set in New York,
It's set in New York, right? Present day, so this is early 80s New York. And our main character is played by Robert De Niro, and he is I'm not going to say he's a stand-up comic. He's a would-be stand-up comic.
An aspiring stand-up
stand-up comic named Rupert Pupkin.
Yeah, and I mean, he's like stalking Jerry. He wants to get on Jerry Lewis's show.
And he's called multiple times.
He goes to their offices all the time.
Yeah, you know, this at the start of the movie, the setup is like every night they do the show, and then Jerry Lewis plays Jerry Langford.
Yep.
So his name's Jerry. So we can refer to him as Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry, and then when the show's done, he's a huge star, right? He's Johnny Carson.
Everybody wants to be.
And like he, you know, he gets mobbed outside the studio going to his car, and then like Robert De Niro's there, and I don't know. It seems like the same kind of crazy people are there all the time.
Right. Sandra Bernhardt's there.
So good in this.
She's in love with Jerry.
Off her rocker.
Like, not just in love, but like weirdly
psychopath
obsessed
love.
with him.
So Jerry's got lots of stalkers.
Yes.
And these are amongst them. So he ends up, there's like a scuffle when Jerry's trying to get into a vehicle, and then it turns out that Rupert gets in the vehicle with Jerry, and he's like, just give me 5 minutes of your time. And he's like, okay. So they're driving, and he's just like, I really, really would, you know, he gives him the whole pitch, like, I'm a comic, I'm a big fan of yours, you know, really. And you can tell Jerry just wants to go home, and he's just like, okay, call my office, we'll look at your stuff, blah, 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 right? Probably tells like 10 times a day.
Same thing to everybody, yep.
So he doesn't take the hint. So he keeps showing up at the Paramount offices. And they're like, well, do you work anywhere? And he doesn't actually, that's what I'm saying, like, he's
never even done it.
No.
He's never even done stand-up comedy. So, you know, he records
he
a tape.
He lives with his mother.
There's some
in,
really...
like, the basement.
He lives in Mom's basement, and... like, he's down there having conversation. Like, he has delusions. So you find out he's delusional because there are these scenes in the movie where, like, he's got, like, delusions where Jerry is like, Rupert, I need you to take over the show.
Yeah.
You have to help me. And Rupert's just like, I don't know if I can do it.
He's sort of like Travis Bickle. Travis Bickle was a wannabe comedian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this is... I mean, that's not, you know, it's a very Scorsese character, even though he's not a criminal at the start. Like, he's not in a gang or anything. So, basically, they turn him down, and he has to get, like, escorted out. And he's just straight up stalking. So, him and Sandra Bernhardt's character, her name was Masha.
Yeah.
Decided to kidnap him.
Yeah, because that's the logical next step.
That's the only way that they're going to get on the show.
Yeah.
And that's the only way Sandra Bernhardt's going to get Jerry alone.
So they basically...
Gets him alone, all right.
They kidnap him, and they hold him for ransom, and the ransom is, like, they get a hold of the studio, and they're like, we're going to kill him unless, like, someone, like, basically, Rupert, if you have to let him on the show live. Yep. It's actually taped to live, but, like... let him do a bit on the show, and it has to air, and then they'll let him go. And they're just like, well, we got to do it. So he does it.
He does it. He goes in, he does his monologue. He actually does all right.
Better than expected?
Better than expected.
I wouldn't
then he's
say...
arrested.
Well, yeah, he's arrested simply because Sandra Bernhardt, in her attempts to... Seduce Jerry.
Yeah, she's home watching Jerry while Rupert goes to the studio.
Has them all, like, duct taped in a chair.
Right,
she literally clears the table and throws the food.
And then she starts taking the tape off of him.
Yeah, because they're going to, like, get down.
Right, and Jerry, of course, is just, like, playing along so he can get away, and he gets away from Sandra Bernhardt.
Yeah, he escapes down the street, and he passes, like, a stereotypical television store with the 10,000 screens.
And he sees...
And it sees Rupert on all of them. The one thing that, like, is... And I think, like, this movie was ahead of its time because, like... Rupert goes to prison, but then he's famous. It actually came true.
Yeah.
And then the movie, like, fast forwards, and it's like he's getting out of prison, he's got a best-selling book, he's got many offers, everyone wants to hear from him, and it's like...
He's doing TV shows. I mean, he's become what he tried to be, so... Yeah. In a way, it really works out for him.
Another crazy white dude doing crazy stuff and getting away with it.
He didn't get away with it. He went to prison.
For, like, a short amount of time.
I know, but he did get away with it.
But if nothing happened to her, though, right?
Well, they don't say.
They don't
but
say.
You assume she went to prison, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
think that Sandra Bernhardt's a little more unhinged than Rupert
completely unhinged.
I don't know. It's just like I think she's they're just as unhinged, but in different ways. Because, like, Rupert isn't attracted to Jerry the same way. He's attracted to Jerry's fame and whatever.
That's
Sandra Bernhardt's character, like, wants him.
Wants to bone him.
Yeah.
I don't think I have to.
You don't have to bleep that one.
See?
See?
Thank you so much
See?
for
That's
saying
true.
I mean, they had that
Thank you
whole
for using
dinner,
that euphemism.
and she like literally like took and just like I'm gonna throw and just like starts
Well,
throwing.
and here's the thing: when you compare Taxi Driver to this one, I mean, it's sort of the same premise. He wants to be this hero, but he's also got this girl that he's trying to impress too. In King of Comedy,
you can see the similarities in Taxi Driver and King of Comedy.
But King of Comedy was nowhere near as uncomfortable.
No, it's not as upsetting.
It's supposed to be entertaining.
Yeah. So, an interesting thing when I was reading about this movie, because Robert De Niro was, like, famous, he had stalkers. He had really serious stalkers, and people who followed him around all the time. To do research for this role, he went and actually talked to his stalkers. Like, he started hounding the autograph hound people, and he had, like, a really serious stalker that he agreed to meet to, because he's doing this movie about being a stalker, and it's just like, what is it? Like, why, and I think the person was like, my mom wanted to say hi, and it was just, like, crazy, but, like, so, he had actual knowledge of this, like, he had lived this too, so I just thought it was super interesting. I'm really glad we did it.
Yes, yeah, and then this is sort of an atypical Scorsese, but a typical atypical Scorsese.
It's atypical in the way that, like, no one gets shot.
No one gets shot or killed.
But besides that, very typical
typical Scorsese. All right, shine boxes.
4 shine boxes.
Give it a 3.
I'll give it a 3.5. I think.
I mean, come on. I think Jerry Lewis pushes it up.
Jerry Lewis is so good. I mean, he's the best part of the movie.
Yep.
He really is.
He really is. He is so good in it. So if you have not, and this is more of a, because I was talking to my dad, like, yeah, I've never seen that, actually. This is more of like a hidden gem Scorsese.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, watch it. Even if, like, I think, like, if some of the off-putting stuff on Scorsese movies, like the lots of violence and stuff you don't like, maybe you'll like this one.
Yeah, because it doesn't have that kind of really violent undertone to it.
No. And, like, when they kidnap Jerry, they've got a gun, but it's a toy gun. It's not even a real gun. Like, they're incompetent people. They're not good criminals.
They're like the wet bandits.
They are like the wet bandits. That's almost insulting to the wet bandits, because
they're that terrible.
They're not good. They're really just, all their ideas are, like, half-baked, and it's because they're crazy, delusional stalkers.
Right.
So that,
there you go. And there's still a Scorsese connection with the wet bandits, because it's Joe Pesci. Come on.
Yes. Well, we got, speaking of...
Okay, here we go.
Our next movie... some people think this is the greatest movie ever made. Mm-hmm. It's a legendary movie. Mm-hmm. Did not win Best Picture. Famously lost to Dancing with Wolves, which that has not
Let's not even go there.
held up.
No,
and I actually like Dancing with Wolves, but boy, like,
I watched it when it came out.
Talk about
everybody
a white savior movie, but
rough. Of this, of course, is Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
I think a lot of people, if you ask them what the best Scorsese movie is, they'll say this one. Yeah, Amanda had never seen it.
Nope.
Oh my gosh. And I haven't talked to you about whether you liked it or not.
I enjoyed it. It was a little, like, I think I was texting Ben. Well, it was like I had it on, and there's like 20 billion things, of course, going on. This is the easiest way for me to do life. No, I really liked it. There was a lot of blood and a lot of death, and I'm like, it's kind of like a mobster movie.
Well, so this is based on. So if anyone hasn't and don't know what this movie is about, it's based on a true story. Yep. About a gangster named Henry Hill. And I believe it was the Gambino crime family, I think.
I think so, yeah.
He was an associate of them, and he did lots of gangster and crime. Mm-hmm. And he wrote a book called Wise Guys, and the book Wise Guys got turned into the movie Goodfellas.
Right.
So it's basically just chronicling, like, from when he was a kid, and super famous line, like at the start when he's like, "As long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a gangster." And as far as like pacing and everything, it's one of the like the best.
I mean, it's good time. I mean, you're never bored.
No,
for
the
as
editing
long
on
as
this
it
is one of the best
It just
ever.
really
For as long
moves
as
along.
it is.
Yeah.
And if
And-
you check out the DVD from the library, you need to make sure you flip it.
Yes. Yeah, Amanda was like texting me, like, "Is this movie an hour long?" I'm like,
Like,
"No."
this is so weird. I thought it was longer.
Actually, funny story. Amanda texted me that yesterday, and then I immediately came upstairs to talk to her. So years and years ago, I wanted to get my friend to watch Goodfellas, and I got him to rent it. And it was the flip DVD,
Right.
and he watched it. He watched only the second half of the movie, and then didn't say anything for a long time, and then was like, "I don't understand, like, what was going on? This movie's terrible." And then he was like, "It just starts when they're like," and I'm like, "No, what?
Cutting
Did you
the
have one of
garlic?
those?" Yeah, yeah.
So that's where it starts. Is he's
So,
cutting
and I was like,
garlic.
"Oh my!" So, like, that actually has happened in my life. So I was like, "I need to come up and
Flip it.
because that is, wouldn't that be
Well,
like?"
because it just ends. Like, he's like, it just ends like an hour and 8 minutes into it.
No. It's one of those old school DVDs.
Which makes no sense.
No,
because
they don't make them like that anymore.
Thank
This
God.
was like early generation DVD, but like that, I want to make sure that didn't happen because I think that would be just ruin this movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
No, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I think I was texting you. Let's see. I'm like, oh my God, they're getting so much money at this wedding. Like, they just envelope after envelope.
After envelope.
And then, the mom was pissed. Oh,
Karen's mom?
Karen's mom, because he wasn't home at a respectable hour.
I love that scene.
so
where
good.
he comes in and he's standing there, and then she just comes out and starts laying into him, and he just kind of looks.
He just
He
laughs.
walks.
turns around and
just
walks.
leaves.
Joe
back.
Pesci starts.
He just leaves.
So okay, let's back up a little bit. Robert De Niro in this movie, he
Yes.
plays Jimmy Conway.
Yep.
And he's also an associate. And then there's kind of like triumvirate. There's a three, and it's Henry, Robert De Niro's character Jimmy, and then Tommy, played
Tommy.
by Joe Pesci in an Oscar-winning role.
He's so good in this.
He
movie.
is just
very
a
good.
complete psychopath. Like, this is, you know, and it's like hilarious because it's just like you think of Wet Bandits, Joe Pesci, but then not censoring himself. Like, that's just, he will kill you and not even think twice about
no,
it.
he didn't. They literally just like boom, boom, and then like, oh look, there's a dead body in the trunk, and threw it in the trunk, and then shot the
That's-
guy like because he was still alive. How many
And
times?
even the people that he considers friends are scared of him.
yeah.
Oh, because he is totally like, he'll kill
Unhinged.
people and not even,
Yeah.
it just be like, whoa, you know, like that, the scene where he shoots Michael Imperioli's character, Spider,
That in the trunk.
No, the one
no.
where they're like playing cards and
Oh,
the
yeah.
little kid,
Yeah.
like not the kid, but the young kid who first he shoots in the foot, and then like the next day, he's like, "You're just being a crybaby." He shot him in the foot,
Yeah.
and then the next time he's got a cast on and he's just like lumping around,
He's making fun of Joe Pesci's making fun of him.
and then he tells him to go F himself.
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Whoa, Spider!" And then Joe Pesci can't. He just shoots him again,
yeah.
kills him this time. Yeah, it's you know,
And Pesci eventually he's like climbing the ranks.
Yeah,
of-
until
of
you
the-
know, and then he's done.
Yeah. And Paul Sorvino plays a crime boss too.
oh, he's Polly.
yeah, he's
Cicero.
Pauly Cicero, and he gets Joe Pesci to come to his house, saying that he's going to make him like a boss and stuff like that, and basically,
Well, they did.
Awesome.
Paul's not in that scene.
no, he's not, but he arranged it.
Well, see, that's the thing. Is it? They don't. That's never said in the movie. It's
No.
just like
It's
and
assumed.
well, I've never assumed that it was Polly directly. I thought it was like because Polly is not the boss of the whole family. Polly is a capo. He is like. If you watch Sopranos, you've got like more of an understanding of like how. But Polly is like. He's like middle management actually,
Right.
and then he's got these people under him.
Let's
Like,
see, I thought Paulie was the one who arranged the hit. From
no,
I thought so, too.
No, because that would have come from above Polly.
Okay.
I mean, they definitely don't say in the movie Polly did, and I never picked that up. I just thought this was like beyond, because Billy Bats was a made man, and you can't touch a made man without getting an okay.
Oh, yeah.
So they killed Tommy killed Billy Bats,
And
because Billy Bats
was
told
with
him to get the shine
with
box.
the Gambino crime family, I think that's what it is.
And the thing is, because what Henry says, he says this was at the highest levels. It was real greaseball stuff. You know, it was Italian. Like that's why I think it was way above Polly. This is like the bosses.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
right.
Because Polly's not the boss. He's their boss, but Polly is not. He's like a department head. Okay, Polly's not the boss of the whole crime family.
Yeah.
But like it's so compartmentalized that they only work for Polly. Like they're always kicking money up to Polly. Polly's kicking money upstairs
ladder,
too.
yeah.
You know, so yeah. But anyways, Tommy gets it because for the Billy Bats, and God, like that's one of the best. I mean, it's really because they are so happy because so Jimmy and Henry can't ever be officially made because they're not full-blooded Italians,
Right.
so but Tommy is, so they're like, if Tommy gets made, it's like we're all getting made, like this is, you know, going to be awesome. And you know,
Yeah, and he gets killed, and Robert De Niro gets really, really
he kept
upset.
they were waiting in a diner and you know, to get the word, and like, oh God, so you know who plays the old lady who plays Tommy's mom?
That's Scorsese's
That's
mother.
Scorsese's mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like when they stop over like during the night.
The knife.
And then she's like, oh, let me get, and then all of a sudden they're eating dinner and Billy Bats is still in the trunk.
Yeah.
And then he's like, let me show you this picture of this dog, and or like the guy with the white hair and the dog, and like that's Scorsese's actual mom.
Huh.
It's so, and I love it where he's like, oh, we hit a deer, you know, its hoof was in the thing. And she's like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
don't tell me
Like,
that.
what do you hoof? Like, what do you call it? And they're like, we need this knife. I've got to. Oh God.
And then this Pesci later takes the knife and basically finishes off
Billy Bats.
Billy Bats. So
Billy Bats, who
that was Dennis Farina, wasn't it?
no.
I thought it was.
No, Frank Costello.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, Frank. But no, it's not dead. But he's also in. He's also in Raging Bull.
Oh, okay. All right. We're checking.
Yeah, no. But he also, so like, if all these guys, well, not Ray Liotta, who we didn't mention. Ray Liotta's
Ray
the main
Liotta's
character.
fantastic. I
His
think
best-
this is his best movie.
Oh, this is
by
his
far.
best movie by far. You know, he had this, and he had Field of Dreams the year before. Like, if you were like 1990, you're like, Ray Liotta's going to the moon. Like,
Yeah.
this guy, and, you know, it never... You know, he
Never
always was
happened.
good, but he never became like, this was the peak.
Yeah. The woman who played Karen did a great job too.
Oh, Karen.
Yeah, Lorraine Bracco.
Lorraine Bracco was nominated for an Oscar for the movie.
Yeah, but like all these people show up in Sopranos as actors later. Like
And
Lorraine
that's
Bracco.
something I've never watched either.
Sopranos is one all-timer of a show.
Never watched. Of course, you can say the same for
But-
me with Ted Lasso.
But
yeah,
no,
but Ted
here's-
Lasso's new.
new
Sopranos was
and like
20 years old.
yeah, but the thing is, like, we never had cable or anything like that growing up.
No,
And
I
so, like-
watched it after.
and, like, I've just-
and got in
Small
binge.
children
You can
and
absolutely binge.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
binge
sure.
show and it
Yeah.
still
or
holds up.
maybe later. I would say this summer, but you know that softball life I'll be living.
Yeah, Ray
No.
Liotta's. I mean,
I thought
everybody in this
it was a
movie is
really good
fantastic.
movie, and I think I was texting Ben throughout. I'm like, the mom is mad, and like, oh my god, now he's got a side chick, and then there's another side.
Yeah, you're
chick.
like, he's got a girlfriend. I'm like, they all have. Yes,
They all have
But, like,
they're bad people.
I think one of my favorite scenes though is when she's sitting in the hair salon and she's just talking about their bad makeup and
Yeah.
their faces and their clothes,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yep, gaudy.
Frank Vincent. That's the actor.
Okay.
Frank Vincent. Yeah, he ends up playing Phil Leotardo in Sopranos, but he's one of those, like, you know, actors who always shows up in mob movies.
Yeah.
No, it was I really enjoyed this one.
Well, and eventually, what happens is Henry turns on everybody, and
That last part of the
Becomes an
movie
informant.
where where it's the last day, it's so frantic, like, because he is coked out of his mind,
Yep.
and the day he gets like arrested, you know, he thinks the helicopters are following him, so he's got like 10 things to do. He's got to like go pick up the coke, and then he's got guns he's got to drop off, but then he's got to go pick up his kid brother, and he's got to go home and make the sauce, and then he's got to get the babysitter.
But she left her hat.
But then he's got to go to his girlfriend Sandy's to cut the coke, and Sandy's just, and it's just like
all these things.
10 things, and he's just sweating bullets the whole time because he's paranoid, and he's coked out of his mind.
And then she flushes it all when they're there to raid the house, and he's all upset. And I'm like, dude, she saved your butt.
Yeah.
Well, just the thing is, like, it didn't really matter. Like, she spilled coke all over. They know there was coke there.
Right.
But like, I love that scene. I was talking to my dad about like you remember that scene where like he comes back, he's out on bail, and he's looking for the coke, and she's just like, I flushed it, I had to, and they're all so sobbing. He's like, how could you? They were never gonna find it. And she's like, they were gonna find it.
Like,
and he's like, there's no way. And it's like, it was just sitting in a cabinet. Like, of course they were gonna find it. They completely, but like, they're so like drugged out of their brain. Like, they're not thinking clearly.
No.
Yeah.
But he ends up turning state's evidence. He testifies against all them.
And he gets a new identity.
They go into witness.
And kids.
Yeah.
She leaves them though.
They say like in the epilogue, like they get divorced and whatever.
Get divorced.
Holly Cicero goes to prison, and they all go to prison.
They all go to
basically.
prison. So
No, I really enjoyed this one.
yeah, one of the best movies of all time.
Shine boxes.
5.
I give it 4.5.
I give it a 5. This is like, one of the best Scorsese.
It was good.
It's one of the best just movies.
Yeah.
I'll have
it's
to
so
watch
good.
it again when I'm not as...
Yeah, I think like if you weren't at work, like you.
Well, and it wasn't even that. Just like, I have to do it when my
Watch
kids aren't
this
around.
movie and then watch Dances with Wolves and tell us which one is better.
I remember watching Dances with Wolves as a kid. My mom liked that movie.
There's a lot of problems with Dancing with Wolves.
I'm
right?
sure. Yeah, we don't
It's
need
a
to go
lot.
into it.
The
though.
big problem is it's kind of boring.
It is.
What I do like is Mary McDonnell. She plays Stands with a Fist.
Yes.
I really like her in it. There's good performances. It's an epic. It's just like 3+ hours.
Oh, we're going to get to another one of those.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so next up would be The Departed.
Yep.
The Departed.
Which is my favorite out of all these.
I love
this movie.
I've always loved this movie.
I remember when it came out and we watched it, and I was like, oh, this is so
and
good.
this is like the only
this-
Scorsese film that we're talking about that does not have Robert De Niro in it.
But was this DiCaprio's first De Niro film?
No, because Aviator was.
The Aviator.
What year did Aviator come out?
2004, and this was
okay.
2006. So
Again, didn't watch The Aviator.
no, I mean it's a fine movie. It's not bad at all. It's just kind of boring.
Typical kind of biopic that
Yeah.
you get. Yeah.
Also, was not a huge DiCaprio fan
Oh.
at all.
You love Titanic.
Yeah, you love Titanic.
No, like I didn't really care for DiCaprio until
this.
The Departed.
Yeah.
Like that's when I'm like, okay, he's more than just the dumb boy on the Titanic ship that went down.
It's DiCaprio. It's Matt Damon.
Yeah.
It's
Such an ensemble. Jack
well,
Nicholson.
Okay, who was the guy? I can see his face, but I could not remember the actor's name. When Matt Damon is in the interrogation room and he turns the camera off and he's like, you need to call your mother and tell her you're going to be late.
Well, the guy in the
Yeah,
interrogation.
who is that actor?
He's just a guy.
But he's been in other things, and he was
Yeah.
in something I watched recently, and I could not place him.
He's
and
that
it's right-
guy. Like the Rewatchables podcast. He's like
Yeah.
that guy.
But he's
I don't
like-
know his name.
He
but
was
he's
in
stuff.
another like mob movie or something
Probably.
that we've watched, or an Irish something, and I could not figure out who the life of me who he was.
Okay, I'm gonna
and
look it
was
up.
bothering me.
Okay, let's back up. Back it up. This movie was the film that he finally won Best Director for.
Nominated so many times before.
Nominated so many times. It was becoming a joke. Because think of all the great movies. Like, he kept getting nominated, kept not. You know?
I mean, it's a good one to win for. Like,
Sort of like Hitchcock, he kept on getting nominated.
Hitchcock never won Best Director.
But Scorsese finally won.
This one was really good because, like, I mean, it starts at the beginning. You meet Matt Damon's character as a young kid, how he's like brought into this Irish crime family, and how he grows up, and they put him through, and then he's like the informant on the inside, and then you meet DiCaprio's character, and how he becomes. They get him into it.
He's trying to get out of it because his family was like...
His family was in it, but he went to, like, the state trooper school to, like, clean up, and, like, his mom is dead, his dad is dead.
And Mark Wahlberg plays the...
Sergeant Dignam.
And,
what's his name? The other...
Well,
Emilio Estevez.
Martin Sheen.
Yeah, Martin Sheen.
In it.
They're all so good.
That Martin Sheen's poor death. Like,
So, funny thing. So, my mom watched this. My mom and dad... And she still brings this up whenever I bring up even Scorsese, just in passing. Okay. Her and my dad were watching this, like, in 2006. Okay. When they chuck Martin Sheen off, and he hits the ground, he, like, splats.
Yes.
And my mom is like... She still hasn't gotten over it.
I mean,
like, she's like, the way he splats.
But it's such a violent death. Like,
I was like, of course he was going to splat.
Threw him off a roof.
No, that just, something about the sound of that splat.
Just a warning, some of the better characters in this movie
Everybody.
don't make
no,
it.
and like...
Everyone dies. Not everyone, but...
Everybody but Matt Damon.
No, Matt Damon dies too.
Matt Damon dies. Mark Wahlberg takes care of him.
Shoots him at the end.
Oh, I see, and I didn't. That's right. He did die. I had to stop right after he recommends.
He gets his comeuppance.
Martin Sheen gets thrown off a roof,
right?
And then
Leo gets shot.
So right after the elevator scene, boom, boom, boom. I had to leave.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to finish. I'm missing something.
Yeah.
And
the
that's
very
why
end
Damon
is basically Damon. Because this guy is such a liar. He's the biggest liar.
Wasn't he talking to Wahlberg's character and recommending him for like the medal?
No. So once Martin Sheen's character dies, okay, Dignam knows something is up. That's Mark Wahlberg's character. Yeah. He leaves. He's like, I'm quitting.
He's out for 2 weeks. Well, just go away for 2 weeks and come back.
So he goes and disappears because he's trying to protect the source, because him and Martin Sheen were the only ones that knew it was Leo, right? And Matt Damon is trying to find out
who it was.
And
Leo figures it out. Yeah. Matt Damon's the informant, and he can't get a hold of Wahlberg's character to tell him.
Yes, but the thing is, Wahlberg has pieced this together who it was. So when Leo finally gets killed, and then Damon kills everyone who's there, he makes it out that Leo was a hero. They get the funerals and the bagpipes. I love that line where he's like, "You want the bagpipes?" And he's like, he makes it out that like him and Leo. Like one of the other cops that Damon shot was the actual mole. Like they were the bad guys, and they shot Leo, and he shot them. Right. So he's such a liar. You watch this movie, and one of the interesting things about it is we have not mentioned Vera Farmiga's character.
Oh, her character's fantastic.
She plays Madeline. She's Matt Damon's girlfriend. She's like the police department shrink.
Yeah, right. And she's talking to Leo the entire time.
Yes, because she met Damon just like working in the building together, but she also does parole, like people who have to go to mandatory counseling that are out on parole, because Leo, did we explain this yet? So he joined the Staties, they call him, the Massachusetts State's Police, and he gets pulled out after the academy because his family has connections. They want to use them as an undercover, but they have to build up a backstory. So he actually goes to jail
for a few years.
No, it's months.
It's
3 months.
Oh.
I think he says 3.
Yeah, they have him do other stuff.
So he's officially kicked out of the police, and they don't know.
And the people that know are Martin Sheen and
Mark Wahlberg.
Yep.
Yes, so he's got an actual criminal record, and like his files, they don't have him anymore. So like, basically, he what was it? Like.
They build him up to be an actual like crime person.
And so that's how he gets in with Jack Nicholson's character.
Who's fantastic. This is like
he's Frank Costello. That's how I had it.
Costello,
but who's basically supposed to be Whitey Bulger in real life. So he infiltrates like the Irish mob, and it's so good. But like Dignam had figured out that Matt Damon was, Well,
and there was another guy like after Martin Sheen's character is killed, and the one guy was shot and not dying on the couch. And he's like, I gave you the wrong address.
Yes.
How did you show up? And he's like, and you want to know why I didn't tell? And then he dies.
And he had been undercover Boston PD.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, they never explicitly say in the movie, because the news reports he was Officer Delahunt. And Jack Nicholson says, they're saying he's a cop because they want me to think he's the cop. Because you've got two diametrically opposed teams, basically. You've got the police and you've got Jack Nicholson's, like, gang.
And he was in it.
There's a mole. They each have a mole in the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so clever. So they did say that he was undercover police. Jack Nicholson never believed it, and they never mentioned it, so we don't actually know that that's true.
But when he says that line, he's like, "Do you know why I didn't tell? Do you know?" Like, but before he dies, to me, that was like he was undercover.
Well,
too.
if you watch it again, he doesn't really say, "Do you know why?" He's basically asking himself, "Why didn't I say anything?"
Oh, see, that's not how I took it.
That's how I always took it,
We'll have
and
to
then he
watch it
immediately
again.
dies.
Yeah.
So. It's so good, but like the very last scene, Manda, is basically Matt Damon
been
has
so
swept
long.
everything out
Right.
under the rug, and
Yeah,
he's
it's
finally
coming back
thinks
to me.
he's gotten away with it. He's bringing groceries into his apartment. He opens it up. Mark Wahlberg's there, and Mark Wahlberg is like in assassin gear. He's got booties on his shoes so he doesn't leave footprints, and he has a mask, and Matt Damon just goes, "Oh, okay," and then boom, and that's the end of the movie. So he
That's
finally
right.
got what.
That's right. Yeah. Izzy walked in. She's like, "Did they just all three die?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's not. We're done, Isabel."
But anyways, great movie.
I'll give this one 5 shine boxes because this was my favorite.
It's so good. I
love
this
it
is
too.
along with Goodfellas. I think it's one of Scorsese's.
You know,
best
and at the
5.
time, so I don't know if you remember Marty, but when it won Best Director in 2006, there was like a weird backlash because people were like, it was a very weak Oscar year, and people were just like, "Well, he didn't win for Goodfellas. Like this is the one."
Well, everybody was saying that it was just like, okay, we're finally going to give it to him. That's
yeah, on
what
a
it
weaker
was.
movie, and I'm saying this movie is not weak.
No, it's a really good, and it's really well written, and like
Yeah, it's so. I don't know if you know this, Amanda. This is adapted from a whole nother movie. So this is adapted from a Hong Kong movie called Internal Affairs.
Oh,
And they bought the rights to the script. And then the person who adapted the script won best adapted screenplay. But this was a remake. This movie is a remake.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Wow.
interesting.
So,
Okay.
and Martin Scorsese purposely didn't watch the original movie until after his movie was made because he didn't want to be influenced. And I haven't seen Internal Affairs, the original, but this is a remake.
Interesting.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
really, like I said, this was my favorite, and like I said, it's
Yeah.
been so many years, and then I totally forgot. Like you said, I had to shut it off early.
See, but not all the bad guys get away with it.
No,
all the
they
bad guys
die
get
in
it.
this one, so,
and the
like-
good
So
guys win.
there's a
sort
theme,
of.
and when we talk about the next and last movie, I want to like posit this to the group.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say I will also go 5 shine boxes. It's hard because I go back and forth between this and Goodfellas, which I like more. But awesome.
All right.
All right,
So
so-
the last movie is the one that is nominated for all these Oscars this year, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this right now. I think it would have been a better miniseries.
Well, it's very long, so
It's 3.5
It's
it would
hours.
have been more
Hours.
digestible.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I think if they could have done it in a miniseries, you would have got more of every family's backstory. Because I feel like they're just focusing on the one family, and like that's fine. But like, it wasn't just this one family; it was all the families.
Well, so
they all have their
the
own
interesting
stories.
thing. This is based on a book, Killers of the Flower Moon, and I've read the book. You've read it
I've
too,
read the
yeah.
book, yeah.
So the book is very different than the movie in sense the book is like a police procedural. The book is about the FBI like getting this case
The main character is like the FBI guy running.
and investigating and finding out this. That is not what the movie is about.
No, it's
the
about the
FBI doesn't
families.
roll in until like an hour left of the movie.
Yeah.
And then it's just
And
shows.
they're very small parts.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and I think
It's short lived with the FBI.
Basically, Scorsese. I mean, and I know that he struggled for how to adapt it. and
so
which way.
it was Leo's idea to do it this way. And
He was great in this movie.
he
was
got
great,
he,
yeah.
he was
I
very
enjoyed
good.
him, and
he
like
didn't
you
get
said-
nominated, which
No.
is kind of a snub because he's awesome. Robert De Niro's in this. He's nominated. Lily Gladstone plays.
She was the best part of the
She
movie.
was the best part
She
of
is
the movie.
the best part. If she don't win Sunday, And I haven't
you
seen
never
Poor
know.
Things yet, but
That one I've heard some really mixed.
oh,
reviews.
it's
I'm
it's
like, I don't know
crazy.
if I want to watch it.
My problem with this film, here's my problem with this film, and I think it's only because I read the book first.
Yes.
Before I saw the movie. Because my problem with it is that they make the film really about Leonardo DiCaprio and his struggle with post-traumatic stress from the war and everything like that. And, and everything that's happening with his wife and Robert De Niro trying to kill everybody, spoiler alert,
Should we? Sorry to cut you
Yeah.
off. Should we just give the basic premise?
Yeah, just do a quick.
So
like,
this is the basic premise of the movie. Okay, it takes place in the 1920s in Oklahoma. Right, the Osage people. It's this tribe of Native Americans. So they'd basically been forced off their land years prior, and they were put on like a reservation. Which happened all over, and obviously they found like the worst land in Oklahoma to put these people. That's like Indian reservations were like the worst land that no one wanted. Surprise, surprise. Guess what's on that land?
all kinds of oil.
So
and
now these
they're, like,
people are
richer than,
rich.
Yeah.
But like they can still control them though. They have to get their monthly money.
Yes, because they're like totally
All the white
manipulating.
people are custodians of
The white people come in like leeches, and
Yes, it's terrible.
so like the murders. So basically,
white men are marrying.
they're strategically marrying into these families.
indigenous families to off the spouses and then
their
take the
children
Get the
sometimes,
rights.
too.
They
Well,
keep
only if the children were full.
Mm-hmm.
If they were half, they
Well,
were mixed, they were fine
it wa-
because then they carried on
it
their
was
bloodline.
it was
my-
it was
it
a
was-
calculated effort to get the rights. They say this so much in the movie, the head rights. This is like the oil rights.
Yeah.
So they are strategically like you marry you, and then we
Yeah.
kill this person, and then we kill them, and then like
and De
we will-
Niro's character was like the one kind of orchestrating.
Yes, De Niro's character. So basically, he's Leo's uncle. Leo comes back from World War I and goes here, and his uncle's there, and he's basically needs a job, and his uncle is like,
Here, drive.
be a drive,
driver.
and then he suggests like, who you should marry? Molly.
Played by Lily
Played by Lily Gladstone, because
I think they
her
actually-
family, they do actually grow to
Love each other, I think.
yes. But see, that's the thing. Like, he did love her,
In
but
his own twisted way.
yes, but I don't think he loved her more than he loved money.
I think that they make the movie out as like De Niro is this master manipulator who's taking advantage of Leo.
See, like when you had saw this before me, and you were like, "Oh, they really make Leo into like." See, I don't think so. I mean,
He
they-
was just as bad as De Niro.
yeah.
But I think he.
because they I think Scorsese goes out of his way because he did terrible stuff, and he did bad stuff that De Niro didn't even know about. So like I think they did. It's just, and that's a theme with all Scorsese movies. It's just like they're complicated. So many of his movies are like, it's a really bad people, but like that doesn't. They're not like one note bad guys. They're not stereotypical bad people. And I think like they did enough for me personally to show that like, Leo was bad too. But clearly De Niro was like masterminding this.
Yeah, it's just. It seems to me like they were trying to make us feel sorry.
No,
I didn't either, and I didn't feel
you
like
might not have felt it.
No,
but that's
and-
what I'm.
no.
I felt terrible for
Molly.
For Molly and
Obviously
her
you
family.
feel
Like,
sorry.
they literally picked everybody off in her
Yes.
family.
Yep.
And I swear, whatever they were giving her was making her more sick.
Oh, she was, yeah. 'cause
like,
she got-
100%. And I'm like, you are literally poisoning
Yep.
an entire...
Well, yeah, they were intentionally poisoning
like,
her.
Yeah.
poisoning her and killing off an entire...
And they-
Well,
were-
and she knew.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best, she's so good in this, but like one of the best things is like she needs to like ask for her money, because whenever they want their own money, they need to go get it approved. And she's like, and she is so sick at this point. And part of it is too is like, a lot of these, they were getting diabetes because of like the diets and everything. And they were just finding out what it was at that point in the
And
20s.
and Lily was
Very
getting
early
insulin.
insulin. Like it was experimental drug insulin.
But they were adding something
they were
to
adding
it.
something to it to poison her, but like they called it the wasting disease because that's what would happen. They didn't know what was happening. But she basically gets money, and they're like, she needs I need to take a trip to Washington, D.C., and she's like, I don't care if it kills me, because, like, we need to tell someone about all the murders. Because everyone is dropping, like, flies, like, left and right.
Yeah,
it's
they're
crazy.
taking out everybody in that entire tribe.
So she goes to D.C. and she meets Calvin Coolidge, Silent Cal himself.
Yeah.
And in the movie they show it, and Silent Cal don't say nothing because you're like, they're not going to do anything. But no, they actually do.
They actually come out and investigate.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons.
But he's off though, right? Is he the one that's killed?
No.
No, that was another private investigator.
No, that was a private investigator they hired. Jesse Plemons is the first FBI agent.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, he's Kirsten Dunst's husband in real life. Jesse Plemons, anytime he's in a movie, the movie's like 5% better.
Yeah.
I love that guy. He's so good.
Like you said, it's when they finally do introduce the FBI characters. Like it's
yes, the book is different than the movie because the book is about you're following the FBI's,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and the reason why they did it this way is because in order to tell the story of the Osage people, they wanted, if they do it the way the book is, the book like goes into lots of the history and whatever, but if you're going to do a movie about FBI agents coming to this place, they're like automatically outsiders. They wanted the movie to take place like inside. You know what I mean? So you have basically,
it makes sense.
It does, but a lot of people, like, if you really liked the book, you're gonna be like, oh, you know, why are they're messing up the book?
Yeah.
But I think like that's a different movie, and that's not a Scorsese movie.
It is not a Scorsese movie.
That's more of like a documentary.
Well, and I understand why they made the choices that they made, but it still seems to me like they made it into a star vehicle for Leonardo DiCaprio, which really bothers me. Because even at the end of the book, the character that the person that DiCaprio plays, I mean, he's like, he like dies in poverty in a trailer and everything like that. I mean, he is literally trash. Whereas in the movie, there's a certain amount of weird sympathy that.
Oh, see, and I didn't get any sympathy.
I didn't, Marty, and Manna didn't either. So this could be.
Maybe it was just me. I don't know.
I don't know. All I know is I was watching this movie because it was on. I think it was on Apple.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's on streaming. Apple.
They paid for the movie.
So we started watching it, and because Dave was like, I want to watch this movie too, and I'm like, well, I'm watching it for the podcast, and I started it, and he walked up the stairs, and he's like, oh, you started it? I'm like, I told you I needed to do this. I'm like, it's 3.5 hours long. He's like, yeah, I'm done. He's like, he was watching like parts of it and working at the table.
Yeah.
And he's like, this, and like he went to bed like at 10:30 and I came to bed an hour later. He's like, you weren't kidding.
No,
the next morning. I'm like, it's long. And I go, you wouldn't have liked it because it was so slow.
Yeah.
It was
It's very slow burn.
And like, I get it. It's just like Oppenheimer. We tried to watch, I finished it. He fell asleep. He's like, that's another 3-hour one. I'm like, come on.
But it seems like it's the year for
really
3.5 hours.
Good, I'm glad they're coming back. I'm glad they're coming back, okay?
But there's no... I'm not complaining about any of the performances.
No, they were
everybody in the movie.
And the movie
is
looks
fantastic.
great. It's obviously executed 100%.
And they do a really good job. I do with like the costuming and the set design and all of it.
But I don't think, because I've heard people say, oh, it's Scorsese's best. It's not.
No,
who said
it's
that?
not.
I'd
I've
give
read people who said that.
So this was the first Scorsese movie they ever saw.
They've ever seen in their life.
So by default, it's
I would give it a 3.5 shine box.
Yeah, I would also say 3.5. Like, it's definitely good.
It's good, but it's not his best.
3 shine boxes for me.
See? I mean,
it's
the Leo thing. I think
we fell. Wait, what was your Taxi Driver?
One.
Oh, see, I was gonna say we didn't get below 3, but of course Amanda's got to throw the monkey wrench into it.
No, I think, and also one other thing which I think might be the reason why people were dissatisfied with this, and I thought about this a lot. So you take all the Scorsese movies you've ever seen, and the ones we talked about, right? Bad people, doing bad things, whatever. And he like stuff like Wolf of Wall Street too, where like he's showing you like what they did. And a lot of people don't like Scorsese movies because they like want them to be way more judgmental. They want them to be like morality plays where like, and he shows the consequences, like, and he shows the bad people doing bad things, but he's giving up to you to like decide. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, that's off-putting to them, so that's why I don't like Scorsese movies. But you think of, like, Goodfellas, Taxi. You think of like all these movies and like the bad people doing bad things. It could be Casino, whatever. Usually there's some sort of justice at the end of these.
Yeah.
Someone goes to prison, ends up
or dies
or whatever. There's
Murdered,
usually
killed.
some justice. The thing about this movie is the end of this movie, like the bad people, like they do go to prison,
but they don't.
But the thing
there's
is,
no clear
it's off
justice.
screen. It's just text. Like it's like, so and so she lived to this and she died. This person served this many years in prison and got out. This person served this year. So like even the very little justice there was you didn't
very
even
gloss.
get to see it.
Right.
It was just someone said it at the end of a movie. It was a voiceover. So I think like people for this movie, and the reason why you're like, I think it's because unlike other Scorsese movies where like, the person gets what they deserve, it didn't really happen because this movie is based on a true story and it didn't happen in real life.
Yeah.
So like he can't make up an ending that would be more satisfying that didn't happen.
I agree with you. I mean, it really does. I mean, it's
I
true
think
to history.
But I think that's
the reason.
the problem. So like when you get Scorsese making a Scorsese movie about this,
People they were expecting the book and they didn't get the book.
well, it was a completely different thing but the book. But I'm just saying like there was very little justice.
and which is true.
Which is true, and the movie basically you're watching these people just basically get systematically murdered for 3.5 hours, and then there's barely any justice. The justice there is, it's just like you don't even get to see it. We don't even get to see them
over.
get convicted. So I think that is part of. I'm not gonna say problem. I'm just saying like if people have trouble with it, I think that's a factor.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. Even bad Scorsese is pretty interesting Scorsese. So, anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it, faithful listeners. That's the word from Amanda Pierce from the Teen Zone, Ben Sargent from Tech Services, and myself on movies that make you offers you can't refuse. I know that's a Godfather.
You keep putting
reference,
Godfather
but I know, but
references in
still,
here.
yeah, whatever. But we can't let you depart just yet.
There we go.
All right,
You're back.
We need to do one more thing. We have to talk about books that have been keeping us up at night and distracting us during the day. It's a little segment on the podcast we call Off the Shelf. So, guys, what have you been reading recently?
So I don't have a book recommendation.
Okay.
I've got a show recommendation.
Okay.
That Amanda's also watching.
All right.
But highly recommend Masters of the Air.
Oh yes, we were just talking
Masters
about
of
this.
the
I
Air.
just watched
So-
the newest one last night.
It's on Apple. It's basically it's Spielberg and Hank. So it's kind of the third, because Band of Brothers.
Yep.
And then they made the Pacific.
Which was meh.
Pacific is meh. Band of Brothers is like goated.
the
Band of
best.
Brothers is like one of the best miniseries
Yep.
you'll
Yeah.
ever see. This is kind of the third in a trilogy now
wow.
from them, and it is about the 100th Bomb Group, the 8th Air Force.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So it takes it from a different
Yep.
Point
And
of view.
the
That you-
cinematography is really cool because yes, we all know it's CGI, but it doesn't.
Oh, that's part of the
Feel.
reason why they waited so long to make
Yeah.
this, because they wouldn't have been able to, 15, 20 years ago,
Yeah,
do
do
all
this.
the aerial stuff. It is, because, you watch movies and you've seen so many war movies. You know what it's like for, a regular infantry grunt in all the different movies. You've
this
seen
is
that
just-
before. What you haven't seen very much is, these air crews and that, sort of war. And, the way the planes are, and these things are
Like these are falling apart when they come back, Marty. Like
these B-29.
Oh my god! Like
super,
they're literally
flying
duct taping
fortresses.
them back together and sending them back out.
It
in
is
the-
so
oh my gosh.
sketchy, and the
it's so
plane, they
stressful.
have them all built, so it's super interesting to me because I've never seen this before.
No, it's
and
really-
really well done, and
Ben and I enjoy World War II.
Okay.
Yeah, we really
I
do.
understand that. You're,
Yeah.
but it's just, oh, dude, and there's major actors in this who
Austin Butler,
they kill.
I don't know if the one's dead yet.
We're not going to
Okay.
spoil anything.
No, I want to. Oh, now I'm to the part though. What is really interesting because when the planes go down, you don't know who lives, who dies. But now we're
That's a big part of it
Yeah.
because after, not to cut you off, but after every mission, and I didn't know this, like, they get off the plane, they have to go to interrogation.
Yeah, and then they tell you.
Every crew gets questioned, like, you know,
who'd you see and
who'd you see, what plane, like,
how
are there
many
any
shoots, like, and then
because they need to know these things, like,
'cause
where
they
were
have
you
no
on the map?
way to go, and like, so like, I'm into the part they show the camps, and the one scene
POW camps,
the prisoner of war camps. But at one point, when they're loading the trains to take them to these camps, you see the Holocaust, you see the train full of the Jewish community going, and they're all like, what the hell? Because they have no, like, at this point, at where they're at in the timeline, they knew there was camps, but they didn't understand the severity of it. Yeah. So they're all just like, what the hell? And then the preview, we're getting into the Tuskegee Airmen now, too. Because you see that if you watch the opening credits, you see the Tuskegee Airmen. Yeah. And so David's like, the Tuskegees? I'm like, they come towards the end of the war, and we're 1944 where I'm at. Because you're at the end of 43 where you're at. Because it skips ahead. It's like October 43 is the episode where he's at.
Right. I haven't watched the newest one.
Yeah, and so it brings you into 44. So you know the end of the war is coming.
But D-Day hasn't happened yet.
Nope, D-Day hasn't happened yet. So I'm trying. And I think there's 10 episodes.
Yeah, and you just watched 7.
It's all on
Apple, and there's 3 more. So yeah, we're just going to talk, like, that's going to be it. Because, like, Ben and I both love the show.
You both love that.
Austin Butler is amazing.
Austin Butler, I was like, man,
he
this
was
is better
really
than Elvis.
good. You still need to see Elvis.
He's never going to watch Elvis.
I know.
But anyways, Austin Butler's character is really good.
Barry Keoghan's in it.
Yeah, Barry Keoghan.
Callum Turner.
There's a lot of good performances, and my favorite is the dog. I do love the dog. Meatball the dog, who has his own like little like oxygen mask so he can fly missions with the boys.
Yeah.
No, it's very well done.
Yeah. Okay, so Masters of Air.
Yep.
Of the Air.
Apple TV.
Of the Air.
Of the Air, yeah.
Here's my recommendation. It's a book I'm just listening to. It's an older book called The Bright Hour. And it's a really uplifting story about a woman with terminal cancer.
Oh, man.
Jeez,
Marty.
So,
who's the author?
It's by the author is...
Is it fiction or nonfiction?
It's nonfiction.
Oh, I can't do it.
And it is by Nina Riggs. And she's actually the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a really good...
She has terminal cancer.
Yeah, she has terminal... It starts out as breast cancer and then metastasizes.
Gotcha.
And so it's a very When Breath Becomes Air kind of book, you know, which is a fantastic book. That's what I'm listening to right now. I have a feeling I know how it's going to end. So, you know,
Marty.
It's very.
Did we want to talk Oscars? We can talk Oscars for 5 minutes.
All right. Well, we will talk about Oscars. You know what? We'll do like a little mini episode where we'll talk.
We
about
shoot
Oscars.
like just a half hour.
Yeah, let's do that.
We for
maybe,
a half hour. What, can we do that?
We can do that.
Yeah, we maybe like next week. We got a free half hour.
Yeah,
we'll just pop it on. We'll talk about what happened.
We'll talk about what our predictions were.
We will talk about Ryan Gosling performing
Yes!
I'm Just Ken live.
Oh my gosh.
That'll take 20 minutes.
I'm just really bummed that Jack Black didn't get nominated for Peaches.
Oh,
so then we could watch Jack Black and Gosling perform.
All right. Well, we're going to be back next week with some Oscar news.
Yes.
So there you have it. These are recommendations from Amanda and Ben. Well, one recommendation from Amanda and Ben. And a book recommendation from me of books that you should pick up or TV series that you should watch. Off the shelf. And we have come to the end of this Martin Scorsese movie roundtable of Library Nerds with Words. I want to thank Amanda Pierce from the Teen Zone and Ben Sargent from Tech Services for joining me today. Never fear, fellow library nerds, Ben and Amanda will be back for another movie roundtable, obviously very, very soon after the Oscars. So come back next week when I will be sitting down for a conversation with one of everyone's favorite library nerds, Lynette Succo, Assistant Adult Services Department Head. Until that time, everyone, stay nerdy. Thank you for listening to Library Nerds with Words, Peter White Public Library's weekly podcast, giving you the word on what's cool at the library. The theme for the podcast is Happy Clappy by John Bartman, used courtesy of Pixabay. This episode was written and produced by Martin Acketts and sponsored by Peter White Public Library. Until next week, pick up a good book, listen to some good music, watch a good movie, attend a great event, and remember, library nerds are the coolest people around.